Okay, in this question, we are given the revenue function of a company as a function of the number of new hires, X. So you give it how many new people were hired, and it will give you what the revenue will be. It's a funny function. But in any case, they're asking you, when does the point of diminishing return come into play? Remember the point of diminishing returns? This is the point where you have an inflection point in the graph. So this is the point where the derivative changes from increasing to decreasing. So the marginal revenue goes from increasing to decreasing. That would be the inflection point of the revenue. So when do you get an inflection point? It means that r double prime of x is 0 and it changes concavity there. And r changes concavity there. You know, the revenue function changes concavity there. So we need to find the second derivative and set it equal to 0 to find if it has inflection points or not. And even if you find points where the second derivative is 0, you need to look at them carefully. Sometimes they might not be inflection points. So now let's compute the first derivative. R prime is, you look at this function and start from here. The 4 comes down, then it becomes minus 4 over 10, which is 2 over 5, x cubed, then plus x cubed there. When you take its derivative, it becomes 3x squared. And then 24x squared, when you take its derivative, the 2 comes down, it becomes 48x. Good. So the second derivative now that we're interested in will be 3 comes down, it's minus 6 over 5 x squared, plus the 2 comes down, hits the 3, you get 6x plus 48. And before I continue, let me take negative 6 over 5 as a common factor to make it an easier polynomial to look at. X squared, then you'll get minus 5x, and then minus 40. This way it's just easier to look at it. So notice also that this is negative 6 over 5, and then you can factor this as x minus what? X minus 8 times x plus 5 when you factor this quadratic. Okay, two numbers that you multiply and get negative 40, and when you add you get negative 5. What are these numbers? They are negative 8 and 5. So you just put them there, and so this means that if we set the second derivative equal to 0, then x will be either 8 or x is negative 5. From here, one of them must be 0, so x will be either 8 or negative 5. But remember, what is x? X denotes the number of new hires for a company. This x must be positive. It cannot be negative. So it doesn't make any sense. This is nonsense, you can say. Nonsense, because it didn't, we don't have a meaning to it within the context of this question. X is assumed to be not just positive, but a whole number, like 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. So we got that x at x equal 8 could be an inflection point. Let's check if there is an inflection point or not at 8. So you'll put 8 here. You know that r double prime is 0 at 8. Now pick any number less than 8. 0. Easier to pick something smaller than 8, and you have the freedom. Pick the easiest one, 0. So if you put 0 in this formula for the second derivative, you'll get negative and positive here, but there is a negative 6 over 5 out, so positive. So r double prime is positive, less than 8, and then after 8, pick any number, 10 for example, and substitute it in the formula here. You'll get negative, and then 10 minus 8 is positive, and 10 plus 5 is 15 positive. So when you multiply negative times positive, you get negative. So this is telling you that the graph of R is concave up before 8 and concave down after 8. So this means that this point, yes, this point with a happy face, you can say this is an inflection point. And before I continue to the next part of this question, I want you to see the graph. So let's put the graph here of the function that we are dealing with. Minus 1 over 10 times x to the 4 plus x cube plus 24x squared. So I just wrote our function here. This function was written there, and you can look at the graph. So the graph looks like this because it's a fourth degree polynomial. So you see that it has, let's see, here it's that's R. Remember, this is what we're looking at is R of x, and we want to see where are the inflection points. We said that at 8 there is an inflection point. So let's see. At 8, where is 8? Yeah, you can see 8, and I will stop at the graph and go to 8. You see, at 8, you go from being concave up before it, and then after 8, notice that the graph becomes concave down. So 8 is an inflection point here, and so this will make it the right answer. So they say find the point of diminishing returns. It's the inflection point, and there was one, and it's at x equal 8. So what does this mean for the company? What should the company do is do not hire more than 8. So do not hire more than 8 new hires. Okay, so that's perfect. You can make decisions by using the math behind this simple idea. Okay, so now we will go to part B of this question and pay attention to this part. I'm going to erase the previous part so that we have space to write the answer. Now we're given a function f of t, but they're not telling you what is a and what is k. They're hidden from you, and you need to find them first to answer the question. So the given is that f of 0 is 3 in green, let's say, and f of 5 is 2 in blue. Let's see how does this help us in solving the question, which is find f of 10. Notice you cannot use the calculator yet because you don't know a and k. First you need to know a and k. And let's see, f of 0 is 3. What does it mean? They're giving us that 3 is f of 0, but we know that if we substitute in this formula, put t equals 0, and look what happens. You'll get 6 over 1 plus a, because e to the 0 will be 1. This part will be 1. And so it's like multiplying by 1 is nothing. Keep it as a. And so this means that 3 times 1 plus a, if you cross multiply, equals 6. And so divide by 3. 1 plus a is 6 over 3 is 2. And so a is 1. Nice. And because a is 1, what do we know now? Let's put it in this color. A is 1, so write the function again. My f of t now is less ambiguous. Now it's 6 over 1 plus e to the minus kt. Because I don't have an a anymore there, because a is 1. I found it's 1. So just don't write it because it's 1. So now you are closer to what f should be. So now you will use the second thing they gave you here. And so they're telling you that f of 5 must be 2. On the other hand, if you use this formula and put t equal 5, you'll get 6 over 1 plus e to the minus 5k. Which means that if you cross multiply, 2 times 1 plus e to the minus 5k is 6. Divide by 2, so 1 plus e to the minus 5k is 6 over 2 is 3. Now subtract 1. E to the minus 5k is 2. Now take ln. So ln of e to the minus 5k is ln of 2. And ln and e cancel. You have minus 5k coming down. And then ln e is 1. This is equal to ln of 2. And finally, k is negative 1 over 5 ln of 2. Perfect. We got what k is. And now we can put it back into this k, put it back into the formula for k. And we will be done. So I will say here, therefore, and make it thicker, and write f of t. F of t equals 6 over 1 plus a is 1 and e to the, look, it will be e to the minus k. And k has a minus already. So minus minus plus, so it will be 1 5 ln 2. 1 over 5 ln 2 times t. So this is the constant times t. This is really our function now, and we can calculate anything from it now. Put a happy face, and you say this means that f of 10 equals, let's put it here and get our calculator. So first we need to write the function. So I will put fraction 6 over 1 plus e to the power, and then 1 over 5 ln 2. So 1 over 5 ln 2, and that's the constant, times t. So let's remember and check. When t is 0, so if I put 0 in my formula here, 0 for t, equal 3. Yes. Now go to the second point to check that your function satisfies. Put 5 for t here. So instead of 0 now put 5. Look, equal to 2. Yes. And so they're telling you now, what is f of 10? So just go back and put 10 equal 1.2. So f of 10 is 1.2, and happy face, and we're done. Okay, so the answer is f of 10 should be 1.2, and my function really is this one. And if you really don't like to keep it 1 over 5 ln 2, you know what you can do? You can always compute it. 1 over 5 ln 2 equals, you see, 0.1386. You can, if you want, you do it to 4 digits like this and replace it here. And in this case, look what will happen. If you go back to here, instead of 1 over 5 ln 2, you will write it as 0.1386. And let's go back and check. At 0, I'll get 3. Then at 5, I get 2 almost. And then at 10, I got 1.2. You see, you can approximate the k if you'd like. Instead of putting the exact answer, you can put an approximate answer and get the answers as well. And so I will stop here.